Wonderful. That's what happens when you're working with small pieces. It's just harder to hold on to. Not much left to work with, but we need more depth in here and up here. So let's see what we can get about that. After doing this for quite some time, you get a sense for where you are on the block, how deep you are, how much more you've got before you pop through. I think I've got about 1/8 of an inch in there. So I can go deeper, but I've already dropped it about 1/8 of an inch right here. So I should be able to make that larger. Let's go try that. Alright, so now we have some more depth in there. Gotta get it a little flatter. Alright, so now we got some depth there. We still have more here, so we can use that up at some point. Alright, so it's a bit, this portion here had to be dropped this low in order to get this angle. And then of course this post had to drop from the original height of the block in order to make it believable that it sits behind these rocks. So the depth that we've created here was required, the depth that we created here was required, and the depth here is required. So those depths could not have been avoided. So now that we have those more or less that depth, we can start to work on the rest of it. We know that this angle here and this angle here are not 45 to each other, so we have to kind of try to make that work out. You'll see that I'm never moving the tool on its own, always using two hands. If this hand moves, this hand moves. So by cutting here, you'll see my thumb move with this hand. I never allow the tool to move freely or along my thumb. That's a great way to engineer a terrible cut. So always move together. This is a method that I've coined dominant non-dominant hand method. My dominant hand for thrust and power, my non-dominant hand for guidance, steering. That's a bit better. Seems a bit high here. Alright, so that's working out. Obviously the depth here is deeper than it is here, so what we can do is eventually we can just drop this one down to the depth at which it sits here. So let's go work on some other things. We have here our artwork. Let's try to work in this foundation a little bit. Using our skew chisel, we're going to cut these blocks in. There's one block here and one here. So let's cut those in. You'll note that my line here lines up kind of with the side, and we know that this stone here sticks out slightly past. So we're just going to cut slightly to the right of this line. We know that these blocks head in that direction, so they go this way. And we know that this block being smaller shows that it's behind this block, or rather at least a little bit behind this block. So we're going to cut them down. My grain is going horizontally, so it's going to be easier for me to cut horizontally. Alright, so now we have some depth there. Let's put this guy on a diagonal. So we know that this is the side of the block, this is another side of the block, this one is a side of the block, and here's another side of the block. So we're going to cut those in. First we can go ahead and put this line in. It's approximately here, and approximates are just fine. I know that the top of this block here starts about here, ends right on the corner. Like that. When you cut off a side of a square-ish surface, the top will be removed and your artwork will get cut off. It's very normal. Just try to keep that in mind, that you'll have to redraw. Blocks anywhere can be at any angle, but we can see by the artwork here that this side here kind of matches up with this side, so you can make a more or less the same angle. As such there. Let's move this side in now. Again, the top portion has been removed and that artwork will have to be put back. Such. Now let's put the top back in, or rather for the first time. Be careful not to cut into your main piece. And we have a tiny one over here. We need to cut this here so that we can get that top portion removed. Alright, so it's basically what we need. Our angle is a bit off, but it's okay. So we have approximately this much. So about right here is where this post comes to. So now you can see that we have this little bit of room here in order to cut the top of this downward. So let's do that. Now we have a decent top. And we could push this side in a little more to give it more room there. But for the most part, you can see that those blocks have some formation. Let's go on to another area. So you can see here that the wood is kind of falling apart here. It was just roughly cut in. So since there's a little sleeve of metal holding this block on that we have to get in there, we need to clean this edge up so it doesn't flake and break away. Alright, technically there's a little more right here, but wait for later. Now let's work with the rope a bit. We need to round the rope. I'm going to sharpen this tool. So in this section here, in this section right here, it's square as you can see, and it needs to be rounded all the way around the sides. So in order to get a good cut in here, I'll put a slight cut in the corners so that I can get in there and remove that edge. Again, over here, and we did this side already, but you can see that it's not exactly rounded until we get in there and do that. Then the outside here. So it still has a squarish shape to it, but much of that will be removed when we turn it into rope. Now here we have another portion of the rope. We have another portion of the rope here, and it's here, and we left this area large so that we could work with that. We know that the height here is too much here as well, but we want to make sure that we get the entire size of the rope in there. So we left it large. So now that we know approximately the shape and the size, the diameter of the rope we've drawn in, we can cut off the excess. First we'll start by dropping the height of the rope a bit. Now we're going to take off this side, which is breaking away and very rough. Clean it out a bit here. Now that we have that edge there, let's go back and get this edge again. It's approximately right. Alternatively, you can measure the size of the rope here and then make sure that it's correct over here. Alright, so now we have some basic measurements in place. Let's go ahead and try to round this guy a bit. So we'll cut on the edge of both sides. And now we'll just take those edges off. Try to remove any rough surfaces along the way. So now we have a basic rope here, or at least the startings of a rope. Let's look at the lantern now. So this lantern is mostly round, right? We have some areas here where they appear to be pretty angular, but for the most part this thing is round. So we need to get that shape in there. We know that this is our center here. So we want to round on both sides of that line. We know that the angle goes toward the rope on this top portion. We'll just get a basic cut in there, and on the other side as well. Alright, we also know that this top portion here also goes into the rope, so we need to get that in there. Alright, now we want to separate portions of the lamp. We know that there's a separation here, separation here, and here. So let's do those. Alright, you get a drink of water. It's a little hot in this workshop. Alright, let's look at, alright, so now we have glass in here for the lamp. This section here is glass, but regardless of whether it's glass or some other material, the main point is that it's smaller in here than the outside top and bottom, so we need to separate and drop the depth of that section. So now and I think you can see better than me that these lines are a bit off, and that's okay. This one's a little lower on this side than this side. We can fix that after the fact. So right now we're just going to come to the bottom portion here and slowly remove a bit. Maintain your line. Now down the sides as well. And rounding a bit on the more harsher edges. Alright, so you can see some separation now. And you can always go back to the top at any point in time and try to put a little more angle like we have here anytime you want. It will slowly disappear as you work on it, and you can always return here and just shore it up a bit. Giving it that angle that you want. So now let's do a little separation on the top portion. It's hard to tell whether the top edge matches right up with the top or if it's separate, but I kind of see it as separate from this piece here, so I'm going to take a little bit off of there. Just gonna round the bottom off a bit. Now we want to shore up the bottom. It's kind of ugly looking, so let's clean that a bit. Alright. Let me look at that. So in here, when we're looking at it directly, we can see that the rope doesn't match what it should look like. So what we need to do is cut a little bit of a angle in here and remove the debris. A little more. So now we get a bit of shadow there. We can now round this side here. Alright, get a bit of roundness. Let's round this corner off. Alright, looking more like rope. This edge is a bit too flat. Alright, looking more like rope. So now what I'd like to do is take out some of this in here. It's just, you know, in the way. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to use a cut saw bit and see if I can This is a cone with a flat top. It's extra coarse and it will make short work of this area. Now that we have that out of there, we can go back in with a chisel. chisel here I can use. Bent chisels are very nice. Alright, let's go ahead and do this top portion here. So now we have this area, this depth here matching this depth here. We can always cut this portion whenever we want, since we know the depth here. So this is going to be an interesting area because we got this little metal sleeve here holding this block into this block. So it wasn't done very cleanly. It was just done as a necessity initially. So that will be a fine detail portion. But you want to just kind of line it up as best you can. Nothing is ever going to be super sharp, so it does need to have that edge cut off a bit. And then here, another portion where it's super fine detail. Right here is the edge of this block here. So it will stick out about like that. And this is super fine detail too, but the idea is that that sleeve sticks out higher than the actual wooden block. So it has a definite noticeable depth here, lower than the block itself. And then of course the block has to be less square or less sharp there too. So you just put a little side cut on it. We use another strong flat chisel here just to shore up this edge. Now let's go ahead, and you can probably see that this angle right here is higher than it is here. So we need to bring that in. Skew chisel is perfect for that. And that's better. But we do have this side here that doesn't really match up with this side. This side is required, pretty much how it is. But this side here, it must drop. That will make this block thicker. Like the difference between a 2x4 and a 4x4. So what we need to do is drop this height to match this, and then try to match this block up with the other side. So let's go ahead and cut initially with the skew chisel. You can only go so deep. You can only press so much into the wood, so don't worry about that. Just take it off little by little. And we use the skew chisel to just get in there to the depth that we cut. Now, a lot of people use a fluter or a V-tool, but I tend to use the skew chisel for just about everything. It's a lot easier to sharpen too. See, pretty light piece of wood. Getting lighter by the minute. Now let's go in there and remove some of its depth. Alright, and then we need to just take off the remainder. Once you get a good depth cut, you can kind of just run with it. And now we can work on this portion here. Let's just do the V-tool to clean this out a bit. So now we can determine what this is going to look like. Now we might get this down to here and determine that we don't like that angle. And if we don't like that angle, we'll have to remove more wood from this top portion in order to pick up the angle we want. Luckily, we have quite a bit of room in here in order to work that angle out. So first of all, let's go ahead and push this angle down to here. You can do that with a number of different tools. I'm really just going to use one of my favorites, which is a Where is it? Here it is. It's a 10mm corner to corner flaring tool called a fishtail. I'm just going to use it as a basic bulk removal tool. Just noting that I'm putting both hands on it so that I'm using these fingers to hold the wood down, and then I'm using this finger here to guide the tool. You can take off a lot less at a time and just take your time doing it. I'm just kind of digging in so I can get as much removed in one cut. Now we can see our angle is kind of triangular. It looks like this angle is matching up kind of with this one, and then the surface behind would be flat. So if we want to make it into a rectangle or a square, we're going to have to remove some from this top portion here. Let's go ahead and clean that a bit. I'm going to take some off the top here. And now we can take the next cut on here from here, this line here. Not exactly straight, but it's more or less correct. Then we'll take it from here and go down. And that will put a different angle on there. And then we'll straighten it out. Where is it? Here it is. But I need to sharpen it. Give me a second. Alright. clean that one off down. Alright, so that put a better angle on it. And we could probably do better by removing a tiny bit on here. It's a bit high here than it is here, so we're going to bring it down a bit. It's about right. And let's go ahead and get a straight line on there. All right. Alright, so now, at this point, we kind of need, can chamfer the top of this real quick. And the rest is really kind of cleanup. Well, we have to do the rope, right? So the rope just needs some round circles in it. And some of you probably want to see me do this, so we'll just do this real quick. You're just putting some half moons on those. And these are a little more like S's. Use a small skew here. And then these guys just get cut in basically. Trying to make it so you can see. And then we have to cut the edges off of those. Another small skew thing. Try to get it so you can see. And then these got to be rounded all throughout. And cleaned as well, but for the most part, that's how that's done. Alright, so I think that'll be it for today. I might come back and do some more of this, but this is more or less the light post. I'll probably come back again soon and put in the grain on the post, both posts, and then clean it up, put some cracks in the rock and so on. But there we go. Move this up so you can see better. And there it is. A medieval light post. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Bye.